Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Rahman Darmawan, and now I will present for my second project, classroom management for part one. The student do all the topics. The student must explain and create the presentation for all topics below. First, teaching tolerance. Second, helping student handle anger, frustration, and aggression. And third, disruptive behavior. For the first topic, teaching tolerance. First, real definition. 1. Tolerance is not just putting up with others. 2. It is actively respecting and celebrating diversity, or cultural, psycho, and neurodiverse. Second, why it matters. 1. Reduces bullying and exclusion. 2. Creates a psychologically safe environment where everyone feels they belong. Third, fast strategies. 1. Windows and mirrors. Use classroom materials that reflect the student's own identity or mirror and show them different words or window. 2. Zero interferences. Address blast remarks immediately, not to shame but to teach. Second topic, handling anger, frustration, and aggression. First, root cause analysis. 1. Anger is a secondary emotion of often masking fear, shame, or academic frustration. Behavior is a communication. Aggression means the student doesn't know how to cope. Second, the escalation techniques. 1. Lower your voice. Meet their high volume with a calm and quiet tone. 2. Validate first. Discipline later. Like, as you are mad. And that's okay, but throwing things is not okay. Third, proactive tools. 1. Cool down corner a non-punitive space with sensory items to reset. 2. Breathing drills. Teach calming techniques before the meltdown happens. For the third topic, disruptive behavior. First, why do they disrupt? 1. Attention, seeking reaction from peers or the teacher. 2. Avoidance, trying to escape a task that is too hard or boring. Second, proactive management. 1. Co-create norms, make classroom rules with students to increase ownership. 2. Reinforce the positive. Highlighting good behavior makes others copy it. Third, low profile intervention. 1. Proximity control. Stand near the disruptive student to stop the behavior silently. Non 2. Non-verbal cues. Use a gentle look, hand signal, or desk tap to refocus them without stopping the lesson. Next, for the second part is solving the problem. For the first problem, dealing with Alex's aggressive behavior, fifth grade analysis, because Mrs. Johnson is an experienced teacher who has already tried basic surface level intervention or rules, rewards, private chats. Without success, Alex's behavior likely stems for deep-seated emotional dysregulation or an unmet underlying need. Example, trauma, frustration, or a cry for control. She needs to shift from standard discipline to targeted, proactive behavioral intervention. For the recommended strategies, first, conduct a functional behavior assessment or FBA and implement a behavior intervention plan or BIP. 1. How it helps instead of guessing why Alex is aggressive. An FBA is systemically tracks when, where, and why the aggression occurs, the antecedents and consequences. Once Mrs. Johnson identifies the function of the behavior, example, escaping hard work or gaining attention. She can create a beep. This replaces aggressive behavior with an acceptable alternative that meets the same need. Second, establish a de-escalation protocol and cool down spot. One, how it helps when Alex becomes psychically aggressive. His brain is in fight or flight state, making logic or consequences useless. In that moment, Mrs. Johnson should set up non-punitive cool-down corner, equipped with calming sensory tools. She must train Alex ahead of time on how to use it, giving him a safe exit strategy to self-regulate before his frustration escalates into cycle aggression. And third recommendation strategies utilize retroactive practice and collaborative problem solving. How it helps: traditional punishment often alienates aggressive students, increasing their hostility. By using restorative, circle, or structured neutral check-ins, Mrs. Johnson can involve Alex directly in the solution, asking questions like "What happened?" and "Who was affected?" and "How can we make it right?" Force Alex to build empathy, take accountability, and rebuild broken trust with his peers. For the second problem, addressing of task behavior and phone use, seventh grade analysis. Seventh grade is a peak developmental time for social distraction and screen addiction because Mr. Smith's current engagement strategies aren't cutting it. The root cause is likely a mix of weak environmental boundaries or phone accessible and lack of active individual accountability during the math lesson. Recommended strategies: first, implement a strict structural device management system or phone hotel. How it helps: accompanying with a smartphone for a teenager's attention is a losing battle. Mr. Smith should introduce a cycle phone hotel, a number over the door shoe organizer. Students place their silent phones into their assigned slots at the start of class and pick them up at the bell. Removing the cycle presence of the temptation immediately reduces daydreaming and hiding texting. Second, transition from lecture to high response modalities, choral or whiteboard responses. How it helps: passive listening invites of task chatting. Mr. Smith can increase the opportunities to respond OTR instead of calling on one student to answer a math problem. He can give every student a small, inexpensive, dry erase whiteboard. When he says "show me," every student must hold up their answer. This forces active participation and leaves zero downtime for daydream. The third recommended strategy is use intermittent proximity control and structure peer codependency. How it helps: rather than staying at the front board, Mr. Smith should teach from the power walkways of the room, moving casually toward chronic chatter eliminates the cycle space required to misbehave comfortably. Furthermore, he can structure peer work using the think, pair, share model with explicit time limits. Example, you have exactly 90 seconds to solve X with your partner. The strict time limit and peer pressure keep them tethered to the task. This third problem, managing Jack's disruptive and attention seeking behavior, 8th grade. Analyzes Jack's behavior talking out of turn, making inappropriate comments is highly indicative of attention seeking behavior. Verbal warnings from Miss Brown and moving his seat are failing because they are stealing feeding him the attention he craves, even if it is negative attention. She needs to starve the negative behavior while aggressively feeding positive behaviors. For the recommended strategies, first, apply planet ignoring combined with differential reinforcement of alternative behavior or DRI. How it helps when Jack makes inappropriate comments or calls out Miss Brown should intentionally ignore it, provided it's not a safety hazard, and immediately heavily praise a student nearby who is behaving correctly. Thank you, Sarah, for raising your hand and waiting to be called on. The moment Jack exhibits the correct behavior, raising his hand, Miss Brown must instantly call on him and praise him. This teaches, this teaches Jack that disruption yields zero attention, while compliance yields fast attention. Second recommended strategy is create a private behavioral contract with pre-seated trapdoors. How it helps? Seating changes fail if a student is just moved to a new group of peers to disrupt. Miss Brown should sit down with Jack privately to create a behavior contract outlining two until three specific rules. Example, raise hand to speak. The contract should include a subtle, private non-verbal cue like a hand gesture or a sticky note placement that alerts Jack he is crossing a line before a public warning is given, saving him from embarrassment while holding him accountable. And for the third recommended strategies is assign Jack a visible high status classroom role. How it helps? Disruptive eighth graders often possess natural leadership qualities but channel them poorly. Miss Brown can channel Jack's need to be noticed by giving him a legitimate, helpful classroom job. Example, managing the teach projector, distributing papers, or leading the vocabulary countdown. This fulfills his psychological need for status and visibility in front of his peers, but ties it directly in positive classroom citizenship. Okay, that's all for my presentation for part 1 and part 2 for classroom management. And thank you. See you. Goodbye.